guys, it is Carl Brown from GuitarLessons365.com. Today we're going to continue our look at La Villa Strangiato with checking out Alex Lifeson's 2 guitar solos. So these are pretty intense, so hopefully you'll stick with me through the whole thing. Still in standard tuning. Please, if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. Ring that little notification bell so you know when I release a new video. And check out my Guitar Academy. It's at GuitarLessons365.com. It's a great guitar academy. We got a great community going over there. And I hope you'll join me with all my guitar courses and live chats, all sorts of stuff. Oh, and also, check out my merchandise. You can get original ideas like this. Only in my store. You'll see the things below or the merch link if you're on the site. And that helps support these lessons as well. All right, so let's start here with this first solo. We're gonna start, this is about a 3 minute, what is it, 3 minute and 39-second mark. We're going to do a little kind of a half bend on the, at the 7th fret on the G string. And I'm doing the volume swells on the actual guitar. Now, Alex Lifeson doesn't do it like that. What he does is he has his volume up just a little bit, maybe probably not even halfway up on his guitar. That's how he gets that nice kind of clean tone. And then he uses a foot pedal, a volume pedal, to do the actual swells themselves. I usually don't use a volume pedal for my volume swells. Kind of do the old Yngwie route where I just use the volume knob on the guitar. So that's what I'm doing here, but if you want to do it exactly like him, it's actually a little bit easier probably to use a volume pedal. When you're sitting down, it's always weird too. So anyway, so just, you don't want the full volume of the guitar coming in, so it's a little bit easier to just dial the guitar at about 3% and then use a volume knob to swell into all these notes. I'm just going to be taking my volume knob and bringing it up to like 3 or 4 on the volume knob and just doing it by ear. So we start with a half step bend on the 7th fret of the G string without the volume on. And then bring the volume up with the pedal or the volume knob, and as you do that, you release the bend. Then we do the same thing, but with a whole step bend at the 10th fret on the B string. So you're going to do that bend first, pre-bend, then pick. And as you bring the volume up, you release the bend. Now we get into a melody which every single note is played, more quickly and with a volume swell. So like this. So that's 6, 8 on the B string, and then over to 5 on the B string, then 7, 5 on the G. So we have this. So without the volume swells, so we have this. And then back to that 5 on the B, and then 7, 4 on the G string. So we have this. With the swells, sounds much cooler. And then you're going to end it with 7, 5 on the G string, over to 7 on the D. So that one phrase with. All right, and then we have this next group of volume swells. All right, so those notes are going to be starting here at the 10th fret on the B, then 8. And then go 10, 8, 7 on the high E. Sorry, this. So just learn the notes first. You don't need to do the volume swells with it yet. So 10, 8 on the B, 10, 8, 7 on the high E. Back over to 10 on the B. And then 8, 7 on the high E string. So we have this. And then just 10, 8, 10 on the beat. One more time. And then do it with the swells. All right, so now we're gonna get no more volume swells, and I've got my volume kind of like 3 or 4 on the guitar to really kind of roll back the gain, because he brings that in just a little bit. But this first phrase here after the volume swells. All right, so we're gonna play 7 on the D string, then 5/7 on the G. Then you're gonna do a whole step bend and release on that 7th fret on the G. So we have this pull off to 5. So we have this, and then do another pull off there. So we have this. And then you're gonna go over this 7 on the D, and then back up 5/7 on the G. And then what he does here is like a pre-bend. So we killed that note, right? And we're gonna do a pre-bend up to a whole step, and once again go back down to the note there. See what? Like that. So you're doing really staccato notes. So after this, after those 2 pull-offs, starting from the 7 on the D. So, and then you're gonna end it with a slide from 5 to 9. So that whole phrase. All right, next phrase. So that starts with a half step bend at the 7th fret on the high E string, and you're gonna slowly release that bend. So just like that, and then we're gonna start like groups of, picking patterns, really just kind of groups of 4. So that's the first group of 4 notes. It's 7/5 on the high E, just alternate pick it, and then 8 on the B, back to that 5 on the high E. So we have that first group of 4. So that's, and then the next group of 4 is repeated 3 times. So that's pretty easy. That's gonna be 8/5 on the B and 7/5 on the G. So when you get to that, you're gonna repeat that 3 times. So we have this. And then we're gonna end it with just 4, 5, 4 on the G, 7 on the D. All right, next phrase. All right, so that is 9 on the G string, then 10 a couple of times on the B string, then up to 12 like 4 times. Well, maybe like 5 times. And then back to the 8th fret here on the B string, twice, 10 once, and back to that 9th fret on the G a couple times. So it's just between those notes. All right, so just going by phrase by phrase. It's really, the solo is really broken up in these phrases. It's really cool. All right, and then we have this. So I did really kind of 2 phrases there because there's kind of a call and response thing there. So we have right there, we're still gonna get the volume down a little bit. We're gonna crank it up in a second. We have the 13th fret a couple of times on the high E. Then down to 12, and then do 15, 13, 12. So like this. Over to 15 on the B, back to 12 on the high E. So like this. And then 15, 13, 12 on the B string this time. and then the 15, 13. Kind of hold on that 13 with some vibrato. So we have this. And then the response to that, or the answer or whatever. So that's up on the 12th fret like 4 times on the high E. Over to 15 on the B, 12, 13 on the B string, so we have this. And then you play 12 on the G string, then you can hammer on the 14 or just pick it. So this. So those two together. All right, now roll the volume all the way up, and you're gonna get the big soaring lead tone here for this first phrase. All right, so that's a bend there at the 15th fret, a big whole step bend, and then pick it again, and release it. Then you're gonna just pick 15, 13, 12, and then pull off 13 to 12. Then the 14 on the G, so back to that 12 on the B string, and then back to the 14 on the G, just let it resolve. So, one more time, slow. All right, next phrase. So that starts with a pre-bend at the 17th fret on the high E string. And then move, like bend into that note, same. So with this. And then back down here to the 12th fret, we have 12, 13, 15. And then 12 again, hammer on 13, pull back off to 12. 15 on the B string, back to the 12 on the high E, then the bend at the 15. So we have this. All right, so you're already bent on that 15th fret, and that starts the next phrase. So coming out of that bend, we have this. All right, so that's that last bend we just covered. You're gonna pick it, release, and then from there, we're just gonna go 12, 13, 12 on the B string, 14 on the G, back to 12 on the B string, back to 14 on the G, and then 12 on the G, and then back to that 14. So we have this. So when you get back to that last 14, you start doing the bends. So a couple bends. Then just pick the note without the bend with some nice vibrato, and then back into another big bend. So all together from here. I'll do it from the previous part. All right, and now we have the next phrase. We're gonna move it down here. We have this. All right, so that is gonna be down here, 7th fret on the D, over to 5 on the G, and then 7. So a bend there, bend and release. pick 7 again, and then you're gonna just have 5, 4, 5, 4. And then he just kind of starts going nuts a little bit. So down here, the first one kind of sounds like he goes 0, 4, 5, 4, 2, and back to 4. And then from there, it really sounds like he's kind of doing more legato bass lick off of just 0, 2, 4, back to like. And now, if you listen to that part of the recording, you tell it's just kind of sounds more like noise than anything. He's just kind of making a transition part there. So he's trying to create this like kind of chaotic sound. So it's there's like a little pick scrape in there, like kind of a thing. So it's really just kind of a transition to get to this bend here, that's the 12th fret. So then when you get to that bend, you're gonna hang on that and keep bending it for a while. So this next phrase looks like this. So do a series of bends there. And then when you're finished, you're gonna pull off 12 to 10 on the G string. And then do a hammer on 9, 10, back to 9 on the G. Quick little hammer pull. And then 12 on the D, back to that 9 on the G, and back to that 12. All right, and now we get to one of these kind of patented chaotic alternate picking sections of these solos that I talked about in the previous video. When Alex Lifeson usually does picking like this, you're not going to see all the notes kind of synchronized like it's Paul Gilbert or something. He doesn't really go for that. He goes for the more kind of chaotic sound. So some of these notes are hit twice, some of them are hit once, some are kind of half hit. So it's really just kind of going for it and knowing the scale choices that he's making, and that's what's going to give you a closer approximation of the sound. So the part itself sounds like this, kind of. All right, so we start with some tremolo picking there. So that's just on the 9th fret on the G, and the 12th fret on the G, and then the 10th on the B string. From there, we just need to know these scale forms, right? So just think of it. If you know your A minor scales, just look at it that way. So starting from here, the notes on the B string for this first initial run are just 10, 12, and 13. And then 12, 10, 9 on the G string. Same thing on the D. Over to that A there on the A string. So those are the notes at the beginning that he's using. So after that little, he's gonna first kind of work your way all the way down to that A note, and then back up to the B string, just using those scale forms. And like I said, just go nuts with it. If you want to make it actually sound closer to it, don't try to synchronize it. Don't try to do that. Just kind of make it all scattered sounding. All right. So when you get up here, back up to the B string, then go back down from the B and go get those notes on the G string again, and then come back up. So kind of like that, I'll hit each note individually just to show you the direction that everything's going. So we have this all the way down to the A, then go back up to that 13th there on the B string, and then go back down and get the notes in the G string, then come back up. And then from there, we're going to now change positions, and we're going to learn a couple different scales. Basically, the notes here, 12, 13, 15. And then the same thing on the high E. So, and then you're going to end it there with a 13, 15, 17 on the high E string. And then that, go, as soon as you get to that 17, that's when you start those bends there. So after this B string, you move up to there to those three notes on the B, and then the 12, 13, 15, and then the 13, 15, 17. Like that a few times, and then we had that little ending, which is kind of that little hammer pull between 12 and 13 on the high E string. Over to 15 on the B, back to that 12. And then 15 back on the B string, pull off 12, 13, over to 14 on the G. All right, and now he ends this solo with another, actually let me just play through everything, kind of those scales again, so you kind of get an idea of what it sounds like when you put those scale forms together. Remember, make it sound kind of scattered. All right, and this last lick in the solo is once again doing that same kind of process, really kind of doing a very scattered approach to going down through the A minor scale. So, but basically sounds like this. Going into that little figure that we learned in the first one. All right, so once again, if you know your A minor scales, it's going to be pretty easy to make it sound like it. So let me just go through the scales that you can use here. We'll start on the top high E string, just 8, 7, 5, and then 8, 6, 5 on the B. Down to 7, 5, 4 on the G. And at that point, you can shift down to the 2. So we have this. And then you can just do 5, 3, 2 on the D string. And then from there, just use kind of just the opened, kind of the open position version of the scale, which is just 3, 2, 0 on the D and the A. So we have all together. So having those three, just look at them as groups of threes. So maybe you want to just do that G string like 1, 2, 3, and then 5, 4, 2. So 2 groups of 3 there. So it's not confusing. And then we have and so. All right, now the idea is to start it. And just kind of do that kind of erratic thing. Now he does start kind of, there's a little signature lick there. Okay, hitting that 5 a few times, and then playing 6, 8 on the B. And then what he does, he starts doing the crazy picking. Down to the notes on the G string there, those 7, 5, 4, and then he comes back up through the notes on the B, and then all the way up to the notes on the high E string, and then he starts working his way completely down just like we went. The same, these 3 notes, the notes on the B, the notes on the G, another 3 notes on the G, the notes on the D, and he's not going straight up and down. He's just kind of hanging out on each one of those groups a little bit. So kind of like this. kind of slide into the 8 to start that little figure. So, like I said, I'm not going through this note for note because it's not possible, and he would never play it the same way twice himself. So the way you should approach it is the way that he actually approaches it, is have your scale, you know, the scales, where the blueprint of where that works, and then just go nuts with it. And that's what's going to give you the sound of the song, more than trying to break down all the little intricacies of what he's doing. Okay, so now let's jump to the second solo. Talk about kind of chaotic, but a lot of big bends in this one. So I'm going to go through it real quick, and then I'll show you how to play it phrase by phrase. All right, so that's got some interesting stuff in it. So I'm always bending out of tune when I'm doing this, so make sure I'm not out of tune. All right, so we're going to start here with the 11th fret there on the G string. So it starts with a half step bend, just kind of pre-bend. Release it, and then bend it up to a step and a half. So that's the beginning of these big, huge bends that you're going to be doing throughout the thing. Then down to the 8th fret there on the G. Pick that a few times. Over to the 9th fret on the A string a couple times. And then the 11th fret on the G a few times. And then over to the D, the 11th fret on the D. And then kind of a few times, that little funky rhythm there on the 9th fret on the A, and then twice on the 11th fret on the G, and then back to that 11 on the D. So you kind of like this. One more time. All right, and then you're to the 12th fret there. The 13th fret. Big step and a half bend again. Down to the 9th fret there on the A, and then slide down to the 2nd fret there on the low E. And then play that 3rd fret on the G. Kind of really trying to make it sound like this disjointed sound that he's kind of going for. So we have this. All right, now we have kind of a quick lick. So that's bent up 2 whole steps when you get to that bend. So that lick real quick is that's 7, hammer on 8, 10, back to 8, back to 7. Sorry. When you get back to this 8, you can stop there. And hit this open D here real quick. And then we have, so that you're going to jump up here now to the 8th position and play 8, hammer 10, pull back off to 8. And then over on the B string, 8, hammer on 11, pull back off to 8. So we have this. Then over to 10 on the G string. Then back to 8, 10 on the high E, on the B string. And you gotta bend that up 2 whole steps. So you want to make it sound like the note of the 15th fret. And there's a quick little kind of a pick scrape. And then you're gonna go back to the 11th fret there, bend, a step and a half bend. And then over to the 9th fret there on the A string. So we have this. All right, from there we do another step and a half bend at that 11th fret on the G. And then you have down to that 8th fret, and then we have a little scale lick finally. So that's coming. So at it. So that starts at the 11th fret on the B string. So you play 11, 10, 8, over to 10 on the G, back to that 8 on the B. So, and then just go 10, 8 on the G, to 10 on the D, and 9 on the A string. Slower. So that comes after that bend. And we have this little phrase here. So let's just mess with the 11s here. We have a few on the G string here, down to the D, then back to the G string, then back to the D, then go back all the way up to the 11th fret on the B string. All right, so now from there we have this thing that kind of similar to that, but slightly different. So this first time I'm playing through it looks like this. All right, so that is 10-8 on the A, then 12-10. So that's similar so far, but now we have 12-9 on the D, and then 10-9. And then we had that same 12-10-9 on the D that we had before, 12 on the A to 9 on the A. So all together. All right, now from there, kind of an odd lick there. So we have 11 on the D, 10 on the G, then back to that 11 on the D, and then resolve it to 9 on the G. So we have this. And then real quick, hear that real quick and it kills it immediately, which is 11 on the D, 9 on the G, 11 on the B. All right, so all together. Now we start that again, but this one's a little bit different too. It sounds like this. Like that, actually. So, so this is the end of the solo here. We have 10-8 on the A, and then you're going to jump up and play 12 and 10 again, but this time I hit 12 twice. So this. And then kind of the same process here. You're going to play 9 on the D, 12 on the G, 12 on the A, like the original lick, but you're going to hit that 9 twice, and then the 12 on the A once. And then you're going to just simply go up 9, 10, 12. So with this. And then from there, with that same ending to this lick that we've done earlier in the song, over to 9, down to 2, and then he just ends it. That's a little ick, little lick. which is just, after you play that, you just go 4 on the D, 4 on the A. So those are heavily palm muted. And then play 3 on the G, 2 on the B. And that leads into the part which we checked out in the last video. All right, so that is it for the solos. Like I said, they've got some very chaotic parts, really hard to make it sound exactly like the recording. But I think you can get pretty close as long as you understand the concept of how they were written and how they're performed. And it allows you to get really close to it yourself. All right, I hope you enjoyed this epic takedown of La Villa Strangiato. It was quite a lot of work, so hopefully you'll watch it like 25 times each. That'll make it worth it. All right, see you guys soon.